So hi, very good evening. The class is a bit late. So actually I'm not feeling well, but I have come to the office. So definitely I'll start. Let's see that how far we can go today. So last class I may go slow and then I may leave early. It depends that I have a little bit of feeling of vomiting. So right from 3 o'clock. So it's been difficult right now. I have taken some medicine. So yesterday we were talking about the last thing was rebellious state and successor state. So today I'll be starting with the Carnatic Wars, as I have said. So we will be starting with the Carnatic area. So Anglo-French rivalry or Carnatic Wars. So Anglo-French rivalry and Carnatic Wars. So listen, this topic is about the area of Hyderabad and also at the same point of time the Carnatic area. So I'll show you some image. Give me a little bit of time so that you can see that which area is the Carnatic. I have one diagram of this. So which area we refer as the Carnatic. So first of all, you need to know that which area we do refer as the Carnatic. So now we go by, if you go by the map of India, so as you can see that the red color has been shown as this is the Mysore area, and the entire this Coromandel coast, this is what we call Coromandel coast. So this entire Coromandel coast and the hinterland of the Coromandel coast, it is the Carnatic area, and this part would be the Hyderabad. Then so here Hyderabad area is there. In fact, you can say that the today's Andhra, okay, that would be Coromandel, and then entire Tamil Nadu would be the Carnatic, and some parts of the Kerala like that going to Calicut, then some parts of Bellary is in Karnataka. So some parts in Karnataka, some parts in Kerala, entire Tamil Nadu, and also near about 90% of the Andhra, today's Andhra, would come under the Carnatic category. And Hyderabad, so again Hyderabad would be including Andhra, Karnataka, parts of Maharashtra also. So Hyderabad as a kingdom. Then, so this is what is the map of these all areas. Now, first of all, what was this Carnatic? So Carnatic, first of all, it was a viceroyalty under the Hyderabad. Then it was one of the province of the Mughal India, but it came under the control of the Hyderabad. Then, so Hyderabad was the one of the province, and then Carnatic was also one of the province. But since it was closer, or it was closer to Hyderabad, so it came under the viceroyalty of the Hyderabad, though under the Mughal India, but under the viceroyalty of Hyderabad. Now already in the previous class you have noted down that Chin Kilij Khan, it's the original name of the Nizam al-Mulk Asaf Jah. So Nizam al-Mulk Asaf Jah, his original name was Chin Kilij Khan. So he was the one who founded Hyderabad in 1724. 1724. So when he freed himself, Asaf Jah freed himself from the control of the Mughal emperor, though the links were never cut, as I mentioned yesterday, that links were never cut, but for the decision making purpose, they were quite autonomous. They were fully autonomous. Only thing that they were raising the Friday prayers in the name of the Mughal emperor, minting the coin in the name of the Mughal emperor, and also every year, annually, paying tributes to the Mughal emperor. So this was continuing, but otherwise they were free for everything. So once Hyderabad freed itself from the control of the Mughals, so same was followed by the Carnatic. Carnatic area also freed itself from the control of both. Already, if Hyderabad has freed itself from the control of the Mughal, it means that Carnatic is part of the Hyderabad. So later on, what Carnatic also did, that they freed themselves from the control of the Hyderabad. So they freed themselves from the control of the Hyderabad, and it became a separate Nawabship. So a separate kind of, you can say that, kingdom, or just like that Hyderabad is the autonomous semi-independent kingdom. So Carnatic also became autonomous semi-independent kingdom. So first thing that we will be writing is about a little bit about the Hyderabad, and then after that Carnatic. ठीक है? तो थोड़ा थोड़ा लिख लो about these all. So you can write a subheading under this, Hyderabad. So listen a little bit. What I said, that the original name of the Asaf Jah, he was a Turkish person, Turkish noble. His name was Chin Kilich Khan, but he came to be known as Asaf Jah. Asaf Jah, it was a title which was given to him by the Mughal emperors only. And when he declared himself, that when he declared Hyderabad area to be the semi-independent kingdom, autonomous semi-independent, so then he took the title of the Nizam, and he came to be known as the Nizam ul Mulk Asaf Jah. And the successors of the Nizam ul Mulk Asaf Jah, they came to be known as the Nizam of the Hyderabad. So Nizam of the Hyderabad. Now, when it comes to the his career, so he was one of the finest nobles of the Mughal court, and he had a very successful career as a Mughal noble. So in between 1713 to 1722, he was appointed the Viceroy of Deccan area. Viceroy of Deccan area. So by the Mughals only. So what happened, that in 1722 till 1722 he was the Viceroy. So when he supported the killing of these Sayyid brothers, and he supported Muhammad Shah, so it was his effort because of which the Sayyid brothers were eliminated. So the Muhammad Shah Rangila, in return, he offered him the post of the Wazir, the highest position in the Mughal court. So post of the Wazir. Now, since he was an able person, and if you remember what we mentioned yesterday, that in day before yesterday, I think, that in Muhammad Shah Rangila, that it was the time to revive the Mughal glory, but Muhammad Shah Rangila was not the man of the moment. So why we said that it was the time to revive the glory of the Delhi Sultanate? Because of the people rallying with Asaf Jah, and they all supporting Asaf Jah, and Asaf Jah himself had an intention to reduce the corruption and bring efficiency in the administration. So this was his intention. So once he was given the post of the Wazir, he tried many things in the court. So he tried many things in the court. He tried to reform the corrupt Mughal administration. But you know, whenever people go on doing something good, so they have their own share of the, you can say that, abuses also. So we live in a age, not only this age, but at that point of time also, you do bad, you would be criticized. You do good, you would be criticized. So at this point of time, obviously when he is trying to reform the corrupt administration, so somebody would be facing the ire of that, and those who were facing the ire of that, they were becoming the enemies of the Asaf Jah. And not only they became enemies of Asaf Jah, but they started to do the flattery of the Muhammad Sahar Rangila. And Muhammad Sahar Rangila, like the Farrukhsiyar, was also very prone to this flattery. So after some point of time, Muhammad Sahar Rangila started to become suspicious about Chin Kilij Khan or Nizamul Mulk Asaf Jah. So he started to become suspicious about him, and then he was not believing, he was not trusting. These kind of things were happening. So at this point of time, Asaf Jah was so disgusted with the attitude of the Muhammad Sahar Rangila that he said that no matter whatever you do for the reform in the Mughal administration, this man who is there, he would not let it happen. So it's better leave the Mughal administration to as it is and let it go to, Hindi में बोलते हैं ना कि भाड़ में जाने दो. So he must have said that. So he said that leave it to as it is, and then why not, if I have to earn the enemies, so why not earn it for myself, go after my own aspiration. So then he decided that he will be creating a separate state for himself, separate semi-independent autonomous kingdom for himself, and that was Hyderabad. So by the time he was already Wazir, and then somebody else was appointed the Viceroy of the Deccan. His name was Mubariz Khan. So when he decided that he is resigning from the post of the Wazir, so he needs to go back to the Deccan. So in Deccan, he fought with the Mughal governor Mubariz Khan in the Battle of Kheda, defeated him, and then he established the semi-independent autonomous kingdom of the Hyderabad. So this is the story. Please write few words. Chin Kilij Khan. You write his original name. Chin Kilij Khan. And in bracket you can write Asaf Jah. Chin Kilij Khan, also known as Asaf Jah, was a noble of Turani group, Turkish group you can write, was a noble of Turkish group. Noble of a Turkish group. Then you mention, in between 1713 and 1722, in between 1713 and 1722, he was Viceroy of Deccan. He was Viceroy of Deccan. Full stop. Viceroy of Deccan. Full stop. He supported Muhammad Shah, Mughal Emperor Muhammad Shah, in killing of Sayyid brothers. In killing of Sayyid brothers. Full stop. In return, he was offered the post of Wazir. In return, he was offered the post of Wazir. He was offered the post of Wazir in the Mughal Empire at Delhi. Post of Wazir in the Mughal Empire at Delhi. Full stop. As a Wazir, he tried to reform the corrupt Mughal administration. The corrupt Mughal administration, but earned many enemies for himself. But earned many enemies for himself. Enemies for himself. Full stop. Disgusted with the suspicious nature of the disgusted with the suspicious nature of the Mughal emperor, suspicious nature of the Mughal emperor, he decided to pursue his own ambition. He decided to pursue his own ambition. His own ambition. Then you write, in 1724, he defeated and killed Viceroy of Deccan. He defeated and killed Viceroy of Deccan, Mubarak Khan, in the Battle of Kheda. He defeated and killed Viceroy of Deccan, Mubarak Khan, in the Battle of Kheda, and established Asaf Jahi dynasty in Hyderabad, and established Asaf Jahi dynasty in Hyderabad. Asaf Jahi dynasty in Hyderabad. So this is what is Hyderabad. Then how it all started. It was a part of the Mughal India, but now it has become semi-independent and autonomous. Same is true about the Carnatic also. So you write, next part, you have come to know that how Hyderabad was created. So now write, Carnatic, and I have already shown you the map. Now listen, that as I said to you that Carnatic was the Coromandel area and its hinterland. Then moreover, as I said to you that it was one of the Mughal Suba which came under the authority of the governor, or you can say that Viceroy of Hyderabad or Deccan. So it came under the authority of the governor of the Hyderabad, and the person who was responsible for the administration of the Carnatic, he was given the title of the Nawab. Then, so the people who were ruling this area, they were known as the Nawab. Then, so just like that, rulers of the Hyderabad are called as Nizam. Then ruler of Carnatic, their title or their supreme title is the Nawab. Same is Bengal also. That in Bengal also the ruler was known as Nawab. Okay? So different things. In Delhi Sultanate, ruler was called as the Sultan. In Mughal Empire, the ruler was Badshah. Then so different titles with which they were named. So just like that, Hyderabad has relieved itself from the control of the Mughal emperor at Delhi. Same way, Carnatic also freed itself from the control of the Hyderabad. So please write, Carnatic was the Coromandel coast and its hinterland. Carnatic was the Coromandel coast and its hinterland. This Kheda. Supposedly it must be in Gujarat. Or to kahin nahi hona. Gujarat was the part of the Deccan only. Then you write, it was one of the Mughal province. it was one of the Mughal province which came under the authority of Hyderabad, and later under the authority of Nizam of Hyderabad, and later under the authority of Nizam of Hyderabad. Nizam of Hyderabad. Then further you write, but just as in practice, the Nizam had become, after full stop, but just as in practice, the Nizam had become independent of Delhi, so did the Deputy Governor of Carnatic. He had freed himself from the control of Hyderabad. And made his office hereditary. Then, so now, who was this person in the Carnatic area who was responsible for this all? So, the first person that we need to mention is the Nawab of the Carnatic. He came to be known with this title, Nawab. So, the Nawab of Carnatic was Sadatullah Khan. Then, so Sadatullah Khan, and moreover, what happened that he has declared the Carnatic as a kind of a semi-independent and autonomous territory. Then, so till this time, the story is clear that how these two are getting separated from the Mughal India. We'll be writing, but first listen how they are getting separated from the Mughal India and they are creating these two semi-independent kingdoms. Then, now, how come these Britishers and French are involved over here in the Carnatic? So listen, that when the Carnatic was declared a semi-independent autonomous area, so obviously whenever any attack or any such thing is happening, so they will have to fight their own battle. So there was always a confrontation between the Maratha and the Carnatic, Nawab of the Carnatic. So kabhi Maratha andar chale aaye, theek hai, they were looting them, they were raiding them, and Carnatic Nawab was defending. So at this point of time, somewhere around 1740, the French governor Dupleix, he was appointed to India. So French governor Dupleix, he decided to interfere in the internal affairs of the Carnatic. Then, so he decided to interfere in the internal affairs of the Carnatic, which is basically that meddling in between the Maratha and the Carnatic. Then, Maratha and the Carnatic. And when he started, so these English who were also stationed at in the Carnatic area only at Madras, so they also started to interfere. So both the parties started to interfere in the Carnatic affairs, which further led to the Carnatic Wars. Then, so please write after full stop, change paragraph, and then you write that what you have written, the Hyderabad and made his office hereditary. Then you write, accordingly, Nawab of Carnatic, Sadatullah Khan, Sadatullah Khan made his office hereditary, and Carnatic became autonomous. Carnatic became autonomous semi-independent territory. Autonomous semi-independent territory. Then, so after that you write, when Marathas started to invade Carnatic area, there was a chaos. There was a chaos. There was a chaos. Then further you mention, at this time, French company decided to interfere. At this time, French company decided to interfere or intervene, you can say, decided to intervene in the internal politics. Decided to intervene in the internal politics of Carnatic to get some political mileage. Full stop. But soon, English trading company also started to intervene. English trading company also started to intervene in the politics of Carnatic. Which resulted into a bitter war between English and French. Which resulted into a bitter war between English and French, which continued for next 20 years. And these wars were popularly known as Carnatic Wars. Then, so this is what is the background of the Carnatic War, that how they are going to start, what was the reason. भाई झगड़ा तो Carnatic में था. Carnatic was Carnatic was fighting a battle with the Marathas to save their territory, to safeguard their dignity and honor, but French jumped in कि हम तुम्हारी side से, we are from your side. Then and somehow they were meddling, and in the beginning they were successful also from the side of the Carnatic, but soon English were seeing that, and they realized that French are advancing too much in this case, then they are going to get so much of political mileage. So if we do not do something, then it will all be a gone case. they also jumped in, and when they jumped in, so they made a perfect spoil sport for the Carnatic, and moreover, perfect spoil sport for the French also. So in fact, these Carnatic wars are the one which actually decided that in between these two companies, which would be the only imperialist power in India, and which company is going to create a colonial empire for itself in the India. That was the British. So it took some wars. Let's have discussion on these wars then. So these wars are known as the Carnatic Wars then. So these wars are known as the Carnatic Wars. या कभी कभी हम ऐसे भी बोलते हैं that first Anglo-French War, second Anglo-French War, third Anglo-French War, or first Carnatic War, second Carnatic War, and third Carnatic War. So let's begin with these all Carnatic Wars. Then so please mention first Carnatic War. See that I'm writing here this date 1740 then, but in fact the war in India started in 1742. But here why I'm writing 1740, I will tell you. Now listen, the background of, see, it's not like Sadat Ullah Allah. See that every book you will see the different kind of spelling. Take hai? So don't go by that. Sadat Allah Khan, then not Ullah Khan. So 1740 and 1748. So now listen, this first Carnatic War. First, we need to know the reasons that why this happened. So already there is a growing rivalry between these two. Growing rivalry between the French and English East India Company. Both are interfering in the affairs. But for a war to precipitate, there must be some specific reason, or there must be some reason so that one can start a war. Then, so they all, both of them were waiting for the opportunity, so for some kind of a reason, that once the reason provided, they will fight with each other. As if that they are completely laced with that all the sophisticated weapons and everything, they are only waiting for the opportunity. So this opportunity came knocking on their door. And as you must have seen that there are two neighbors and they have so much of jealousy with each other, so much of enmity, but they are not finding a reason to fight with each other, just waiting for. And one fine day, what happened, that heavy rain was there. After that heavy rain, somebody else's house, that the neighbor's, one neighbor's house, from that house, the water, the rainwater is coming into the coming in the area of the other house, and then they started fighting. So this kind of then, so they just needed an excuse to fight. Already all the things were there, but they needed an excuse to fight. And what was this? So in fact, the reason was not based in India for the first Carnatic War. Reason was based outside India then, and it was based in Europe. So in Europe, what happened, that there was the Austrian War of Succession then. So in the date which I have written, it is from the perspective of the Austrian War of Succession. So listen, what is this Austrian War of Succession? See that there was this empire in the Europe, Habsburg Empire, which actually covered so many countries then. So this Habsburg Empire, and that's the place where you call that the central area as the Austria. So in this Habsburg Empire, on 20th of October, listen this carefully, 20th of October, 1740, there was death of the King Charles IV. So Charles VI, not fourth, Charles VI. So the King Charles VI died, and after the death of the King of the Habsburg Empire, Charles VI, that there were two claimants of the position of the throne of the Habsburg Empire. So one claimant was the daughter of the Charles VI. Her name was the Maria Theresa. So Maria Theresa was one of the claimant, and on the other hand, there were some other claimants also. Their names are not necessary to remember, but if you want to know, I will tell that Charles Albert of the Bavaria and Saxony. So two claimants are there. Now, since these two claimants are there, so what happened at this point of time? The Britain was supporting the claim of the daughter Maria Theresa. So Britain was supporting the claim of the Maria Theresa, and on the other hand, when Britain supported Maria Theresa, so France started to support this particular Albert, Charles Albert. So after these supports happened, and then after this, the two claimants are there, so two belligerents are there, and these two countries started to fight with each other in Europe. So in the Austrian War of Succession, these two countries started to fight with each other in Europe, and then after, once the war broke out in Europe, it was a reason sufficient enough for a war to be declared in India. So here in India, the French company declared the war against the Dupleix, who was here in India. He declared a war against the Britishers in India. Okay? So that's how this war started. So reason was not purely based in India, that the precipitating factor, I'll say, that precipitating factor was based in Europe. And once it started, so यहाँ पे अच्छा खासा क्या बोलते हैं हिंदी में मुझे याद नहीं आ रहा है, that वजह मिल गई that they can declare war against each other. We will see the outcome, but first you write few words about this one. So please mention the Austrian War of Succession. The Austrian War of Succession started after the death of King Charles VI. After the death of King Charles VI. In October 1740. In October 1740. Then you write, in this war, Britain supported claim of Maria Theresa. Claim of Maria Theresa, and she was the daughter of the Charles VI. Then you can mention, and France supported claim of Charles Albert. France supported claim of Charles Albert. Full stop. The outbreak of war in Europe, provided the context for the rivalry between two main European counterparts, British and French, two main European counterparts, that is British and French, for the control over the Indian territories. Then, so now listen, that it was the Dupleix who decided first that he would be attacking on the British possessions in India. So as you know that the most important British possession in Carnatic area was the Madras, and in French possession was the Pondicherry. They are not far from each other. In fact, closer to each other. In the present day context, अब उस time पे it must have taken a little bit of time to reach from one place to another, but it's not very far. So Dupleix decided that he would be attacking on the English possession at Madras. Then, so this was all of a sudden war, all of a sudden attack on the Madras. Then, so when this attack happened on the Madras, Britishers were not prepared and they surrendered before the French. Then, so they surrendered before the French. But what happened that now they have surrendered, but that does not mean that they will not do anything, since it was the only option available to them. So at that point of time, they asked for the help to then Nawab of the Carnatic, and then Nawab of the Carnatic was the Muhammad Anwaruddin. Then, so Anwaruddin, so they asked for help to the Nawab of the Carnatic, Muhammad Anwaruddin, and as such, this Nawab of Carnatic, Anwaruddin, he sent a force to Madras. Then, he sent a force to Madras to fight with the French. So what happened? That here, when the army of this particular Muhammad Anwaruddin, it came to Madras to support the British people, they were also defeated. Then, so they were also defeated by the French. So French were completely successful over here in India. But on the other hand, this Austrian War of Succession, which started in the Europe, ye bhi khatam ho gaya. It also came to an end. And how it came to an end? So basically, in Europe, what happened? In Europe, the claim of Maria Theresa was settled. Then, so she became the next ruler of the Austrian Habsburg Empire, and then Britain was successful in Europe. So now you can see that Britain is successful in Europe and France is successful in India. Then, so after this there was a treaty. Then, so after this there was a treaty, and name of the treaty was Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle. Then it is happening in Europe only. So Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle. So what happened that as per the treaty, this Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle covers everything. Then from Europe to India. Then, so as per the treaty already, that Maria Theresa is going to become the emperor, or she is going to become the ruler of the Habsburg Empire. And French were said that they must give back the Indian territory of the British, that Madras to the British, which they have captured. So as per the treaty, English possessions in India, that is Madras, was restored. And moreover, one more thing which I didn't mention in this war. So we did mention only about the Europe. We did mention only about India, but these English and French companies, they were not only present in India, not only present in Europe, but they were also there in the North America. So in North America, so एक बार फिर से समझना इस पूरी कहानी को. We have written this war, first Carnatic War, and this is a war between the French and English. So once the war, this is the original reason, Austrian War of Succession, this is happening in Europe. But companies of Britain and Europe are there in the North America also, and they are in India also. So what happened, what was the outcome? That here Maria Theresa, I am writing MT, Maria Theresa, and that is Britain. So here Britain was successful. In India, French were successful. Then, and in North America, then British people, they captured French area in Canada. Then, so here British were successful. Then, so in North America, British were successful. In India, French were successful, and in Europe, it was all settled that Maria Theresa would be the ruler. So what happened that कुछ न कुछ किसी ने जीता है, that everybody has something, then everybody has one something. So what happened, that this was a treaty of null and void, meaning that restoring the position of each other. So in India, British possession of the Madras was restored to them, and in North America, French possession of Nova Scotia, which is right now in the Canada. If you see the map of the Canada, so I'll create one. This is, I do love to create that, these all map. In fact, it was one of my favorite things while I was in the preparation. So this part, that over here in the Canada, you see that here there is a one part, which is, this part is known as the Nova Scotia. This part, Nova Scotia, and this was the area which was captured by the British from the English. Then, so sorry, the British captured it from the French. So this Nova Scotia region, now it was given back to the French. ठीक है? I hope you are understanding. अच्छा मैप नहीं बनाया, बट मैं इससे अच्छा मैप बनाता हूँ. So please write. Please mention what you have written. Oh, nothing. So you write French governor Dupleix. French governor Dupleix. Dupleix decided to attack English possessions. Decided to attack English possession in India at Madras. English possession in India at Madras. Then further you write, as such, English surrendered to the British. As such, English surrendered to the British. Oh, sorry, English surrendered to the French. English surrendered to the British would be the same thing. So surrendered to the French. Then you write, meanwhile, they appealed to the Nawab of Carnatic. Meanwhile, they appealed to the Nawab of Carnatic. They appealed to the Nawab of Carnatic for help. Nawab of Carnatic for help. Then you write, Nawab sent a force against French. Nawab sent a force against French, but it suffered crushing defeat. But it suffered crushing defeat. Then you write after that, however, the end of Austrian War of Succession also led to end of First Carnatic War. Also led to end of First Carnatic War. First Carnatic War. Then you write, with the Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle. Let me write the spelling. Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle. Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle. So now, what was under this treaty. So you can highlight this Aix-la-Chapelle, underline it, and then you write, as per the terms of treaty, as per the terms of treaty, just 1 minute, one spelling mistake is there. This is double L. So as per the terms of treaty, English possessions in India, that is Madras, as per the terms of treaty, English possessions in India, that is Madras, was restored while the French got back their North American territory. French got back their North American territory. So this is how the very first war came to an end. But there is a one thing that I would tell you, that Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle ho gaya, war khatam ho gaya. One thing you understand. Now, there was no such need of the Nawab of the Carnatic to come to the party in a fight between the British and French. But what he did a mistake. That Britishers asked for the support and he jumped in. So then the Dupleix decided that this Nawab of the Carnatic must be kind of taught a lesson. So here this 1748 Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle happened. In 1749, just after that, French fought a separate battle with the Carnatic Nawab, Anwaruddin. This battle was known as the Battle of Ambur. And in this Battle of Ambur, they killed Anwaruddin, Nawab of Carnatic. So isko likh lo, theek hai? After this, before going into the second war, so you write, in 1749, in the Battle of Ambur, French killed Nawab Anwaruddin of Carnatic. Nawab Anwaruddin of Carnatic. Then, now from here onwards, everything is important for every stage of exam. सब के लिए important है, प्री के लिए भी, मेंस के लिए भी, इंटरव्यू के लिए भी, इंटरव्यू के बाद के लिए भी, and most importantly for knowing the history. So now onwards everything is very important. जब से later मुगल पढ़ रहे हो तब से everything is important for every stage of the exam. So now you got that French have leveled their score against the Nawab of the Carnatic. Now the second Carnatic War, listen. So second Carnatic War we are going to see, and there are some interesting things which happened in the second Carnatic War. I was little worried in the beginning of the class that what if the mood is not lifted, because I had this, I was suppressing that I had this vomit feeling, and then कि मूड लिफ्ट नहीं होगा तो क्लास खराब हो जाएगी आज. बट आई एम ट्राइंग दैट थोड़ा सा, आई हैव ऑलरेडी टेकन अ मेडिसिन, सो मे बी इट मे हेल्प. And let me share with you, it is that I did had some juice around 2 o'clock, 2:30. After that, there is this feeling that otherwise it's fine, that after a while I'm feeling that I would vomit. But I will tell you one thing which I am seeing, and you are also seeing from last 2-3 days, that there was this bottle, and that how the big people and people with the big names, how they can influence the market. Then, so there is a Coke bottle, somebody is removing the Coke bottle from that. This could be hypocrisy also, but this is very impacting also. So Ronaldo removed this Coke from the stage, and then he replaced it the water, and then the notional loss to the world, notional loss to the Coca-Cola was $4 billion. So we are living in such a world where everything is hanging by the thread. But and then after I'm seeing that at many places people are recommending, people are saying that ki nahi coke nahi pina hai, ye nahi karna hai. And then there was the flurry of the reaction that people started to do that. Pogba removed that beer also. See, that removing it from the press conference is easy, but everybody knows that once they remove it from their real lifestyle in their homes, that would be difficult. And so why I'm sharing this thing? Because I had this feeling when I came to the class, and I had this feeling that I would vomit in the middle of the class itself, because it was very intense. And then I thought that what would help me? What would be that thing which will help me from this kind of feeling, so that class could be little bit uplifted and it can go on. So I asked the Bhaiya ji who is here that to bring a Coke, and that Coke is little bit helping me. So I will not remove the Coke from that place. Okay? And actually, earlier that the thing that I had, that juice, so the little bit of feeling of that juice was there, which was very irritating. And now after the Coke, this little bit different feeling. So I would not remove my Coke from here. It is helping me. जिसको हटाना है उसको हटा लो. ठीक है. काश मैं भी इतना पॉपुलर होता तो कोक को $2 बिलियन फायदा हो जाता और उसमें से $1 बिलियन मुझे मिल जाता. चलो. So please write what you guys were writing or not writing. So Second Carnatic War. So Second Carnatic War. So the first Carnatic War, the reasons were completely based outside India. ठीक है. फर्स्ट में सब यूरोप से था. The second Carnatic War, reasons were purely based in India, meaning that what is happening on the Indian ground, that was the precipitating factor for the second Carnatic War. Then, so I will explain it, but first, right? So please mention Second Carnatic War. (1749 to 54). This 4 looks like 9. So now listen. Now, there are many things which have happened in 1749. First of all, अभी सुन लो, फिर उसके बाद लिखने का काम करेंगे. In 1748, first of all, the founder of the Hyderabad, Nizamul Mulk Asaf Jah's death happened. So Asaf Jah died in Hyderabad, done. And in Carnatic, already French have killed Anwaruddin. So French have killed Anwaruddin. Both the places, somebody is to be appointed as the next Nawab and Nizam. So in Hyderabad, there is a wait for the next Nizam, and in Carnatic area, there is a wait for the next Nawab. So let me first write it, that Asaf Jah in Hyderabad, he died in 1748. And already we have written, in Carnatic, Anwaruddin killed. Anwaruddin was killed in 1749. So these two areas. Now, on one side I am writing Hyderabad, on other side Carnatic. And who are the belligerents at both the places? So the belligerents at both the places, in Hyderabad, then there were two people. Belligerents का मतलब कि जो claimants हैं, आपस में झगड़ रहे हैं. So the claimants who are fighting with each other for the position. So in Hyderabad, there were two people, Nasir Jung and Muzaffar Jung. Nasir Jung and Muzaffar Jung. So these two people in Hyderabad, they are fighting for the throne of the Hyderabad, or Nizamship of the Hyderabad. And then in Carnatic, the claimants were this Anwaruddin who is there. So his son, one was his son, Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali. One of the claimant is the Muhammad Ali, and another claimant is the Chanda Sahib. So this is the situation in 1749, that Muhammad Ali and Chanda Sahib in Carnatic, they are claiming for the Nawabship of the Carnatic, and in Hyderabad, Nasir Jung and Muzaffar Jung, they are fighting with each other for the Nizamship of the Hyderabad. And agar jo riste janna chahte ho, so Nasir Jung was the son and he was the grandson, Muzaffar Jung was the grandson of the Asaf Jah. Muhammad Ali, son of the Anwaruddin, and Chanda Sahib, he was in relation with the first Nawab of the Carnatic, Sadat Allah Khan. Then, so in fact that son-in-law, he would be the son-in-law of the Dost Ali and Sadat Allah Khan. So ये सब लिखना जरूरी नहीं है. This is not required. You just need to know the situation, that what was the situation which led to the war. So don't write that relations. I just told you just for the sake of completion. So now another such twist in this story is the, again, as you know that British and French, they are not going to sit idle. They would be supporting somebody. Then, so they would be supporting somebody, and so one by one I'm writing. Nasir Jung supported by British in Hyderabad. Muhammad Ali supported by British in Hyderabad. And the rest of the two people, they are supported by the, so Muzaffar Jung by the French, and then Chanda Sahib again by French. ठीक है? So झगड़ा start हुआ. People have taken that they have chosen their parties and they have started supporting their parties. Now, who was successful? That who became the Nizam of the Hyderabad and who became the Nawab of the Carnatic? So in this fight, the successful were the French. So whoever was supported by the French, they became the ruler of that area. So Muzaffar Jung became the ruler or Nizam of the Hyderabad, and Chanda Sahib became the Nizam, Nawab of the Carnatic area. And after this story, the war started. ठीक है? So एक बार थोड़ा सा लिख लो. I hope this image is very clear to you. So please write few words, and then we will talk about some of the important aspects of this Second Carnatic War. Not everything is done over here. It is half the story. The second part is more interesting. So you write, in 1748, the Nizam of Hyderabad, Asaf Jah, died. Nizam of Hyderabad, Asaf Jah, died. After which there was a war of succession. After which there was a war of succession. War of succession between Nasir Jung and Muzaffar Jung. I hope these names are visible to you. Between Nasir Jung and Muzaffar Jung. Achha, I said to you in some class, somebody asked me that Nasir Jung, I said that he's the son of the Asaf Jah, and Muzaffar Jung was the grandson of the Asaf Jah. So it seems like that, so giving you what kind of relatives they were. So it seems like that he is a father, he is a son. No, Nasir Jung was the son, Muzaffar Jung was the grandson from the daughter of the Asaf Jah. ठीक है? तो ये बहन का बेटा है, ठीक है? And then he is the direct beta of the Asaf Jah. Then you write after full stop. After the death of Anwaruddin in 1749, after the death of Anwaruddin in 1749, the claimants of Nawabship in Carnatic were Muhammad Ali and Chanda Sahib. Then further you mention after that. In this war of succession, after full stop, in this war of succession, French supported Muzaffar Jung and Chanda Sahib. In this war of succession, French supported Muzaffar Jung and Chanda Sahib. And British supported Nasir Jung and Muhammad Ali. British supported Nasir Jung and Muhammad Ali. Then finally, it was French who were successful. It was French who were successful in installing Muzaffar Jung at Hyderabad and Muzaffar Jung at Hyderabad and Chanda Sahib at Carnatic. French were successful in installing Muzaffar Jung at Hyderabad and Chanda Sahib at Carnatic. So now, since already French are successful, we need to know that what was the British response at this point of time. Since that French were successful in kind of installing these two people at these places, so what is the British response over here? So in this only, there is a subtopic or subheading, you write British response. Then, so now, British were quite disheartened at this point of time, the people who were there in India. So they were quite disheartened at this point of time. And soon what happened that the British East India Company changed the main general who was stationed at the Madras. So then now new general came at the Madras, and name of this new general who came to Madras and India, Saunders. Then so Saunders felt that it is very humiliating that what French have done then, and they have done without a war, without a battle kind of. So they have already installed these two people, and it is very embarrassing for the British pride. Then, so he felt that it is a very embarrassing, and he was like that no matter we win or lose, we must fight them. Then, so we must fight them, and he felt that there is a need of activity from the British side. They must not sit back idle. Then, so at this point of time, when the new general was thinking about on attacking or fighting with the French, so what happened? This point of time, the interesting part starts. There was this very young person then, and there was this very young person who came up with some innovative idea, and that innovative idea is going to help them win something. Then, so my question to you, can you predict that who was that person who suggested something to the Saunders? Any idea? Anyone who can tell me that who was that person? And then rest of the thing I will tell you. So meanwhile you guys are writing and I'm waiting that, can you tell me that who was that person? So please write. In the beginning, in this British response you write, in the beginning, the attitude of the, okay, very good. Many of you. Oh, very, very nice, very nice. All of you, Robert Clive. So that's the answer. Then so I'll tell you further about him. So please write, in the beginning, the attitude of the Britishers, in the beginning, the attitude of the Britishers was very callous. Was very callous. Was very callous, but yes, रॉबर्ट क्लाइव जी इतनी इज्जत तो रॉबर्ट क्लाइव को कभी नहीं मिली होगी. I will tell you something related to Robert Clive in the today's class itself. Then, so in the beginning, the attitude of the Britishers was very callous. But when a new General Saunders came to India, when a new General Saunders came to India, he felt the need of activity. He felt the need of activity. Now listen, so already all of you have sent the right answer, Robert Clive. So now listen, that at this time, this young clerk, Robert Clive, and he was a clerk, he was not an army personnel then. So he was just 22 years old, and then at this point of time, he was always in the weight of that he must be given opportunity to fight then, but he was in writership of the company, he was doing the clerical job, so he was not allowed to do that kind of job. So at this point of time he volunteered then. So Robert Clive volunteered, and moreover not only volunteered to fight but also suggested to create a diversion then. So also suggested to create a diversion. I will talk about that diversion, that what he was talking about, so that British can hunch back in this particular Carnatic War. They can win back the territories that they have lost then. So who was this Robert Clive? That Robert Clive, it is said about that he was born over there in the England, Scotland, somewhere in the Scotland, and then right from the beginning Robert Clive was a very erratic kind of personality then, and moreover that he was very unstable, and he changed so many schools then, and finally though he was quite brilliant, but he was not in the control of his parents then. So finally his parents thought that if he goes into the service of the East India Company, so they will discipline him then. So that's how at that point of time he became the clerk in the East India Company. But he was quite enthusiastic, then he has intelligent ideas, and moreover he was always in the activity. He also always wanted to be in some kind of activity, not on a chair where he is writing something. So he found his favorite vocation when the new General Saunders came and when this situation was there. So what is this diversion which he has suggested? So let's look at this with the map. Now listen. So first I am writing the name of all the parties involved then. So the people who are involved in this particular war. So Chanda Sahib. One name is that in the Carnatic area, I am writing about the people in the Carnatic area, Chanda Sahib. And he's who? He is Nawab of Carnatic. So Nawab I am writing. Then another person is the Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali, he was the belligerent then, means that he was the claimant who was not successful. So Chanda Sahib and Muhammad Ali. Then Chanda Sahib, so this Carnatic area, the capital of the Carnatic. So I'm writing the name of the capital of the Carnatic. So capital was Arcot. Arcot was the capital of the Carnatic. And Muhammad Ali, so since he was not successful, in this case. So now Muhammad Ali, his area was Trikonpalli. So he is stationed at Trikonpalli. Nowadays, this area is the Tiruchirappalli. So Muhammad Ali at Trikonpalli, and then capital of the Carnatic is the Arcot. So after everything was settling, that Chanda Sahib became the Nawab. Now Chanda Sahib decided, sunna isko, theek hai? So Chanda Sahib decided that he need to remove Muhammad Ali completely. That Muhammad Ali, he was of the view that if Muhammad Ali would be alive, so he will get the support of the British, and then time and again he will pose as a threat. Then, so he was of the view that though the Nawabship has settled, we need to remove Muhammad Ali. Then, so what he did, that he led an army. Chanda Sahib led an army then to attack Muhammad Ali at Trikonpalli. So he is going to the Trikonpalli to fight with or to kill the Muhammad Ali. And he is supported by the French. So French are accompanying the Chanda Sahib. Now, on the other hand, in the Arcot, so Arcot, which is the capital of the Chanda Sahib, so this was, Arcot was under the charge of the son of the Chanda Sahib, Raju Sahib. Then, so son of the Chanda Sahib, Raju Sahib. Then, now what this person, Robert Clive, suggested to the Saunders. So he suggested a diversion. What is this diversion? So he said that while Chanda Sahib with his army and with the French, he is going to attack Trikonpalli, and you guys are supporting Muhammad Ali over here. But also what you do, that why not create a diversion? At the same point of time, we must attack at the Arcot also. So we must attack at the Arcot also. So he said that one British unit must attack at Arcot. Then, so already that Chanda Sahib here, if British will attack on Arcot, so then it will force Chanda Sahib to return to his capital. So he would be forced to return to his capital. That's what is the diversion. And then there would be a chance that we could be victorious. Got that? So we could be victorious, and this is what we say in the history as the siege of Arcot, in which British were victorious. And this idea was given by Robert Clive. You write few words, there is more of the story, I will tell you later. But first you write. So Saunders, he felt the need of activity. Then you write, at this time a young clerk, Robert Clive volunteered to fight and suggested to create a diversion. By attacking on the capital of Carnatic, Arcot. Then you write this heading, Siege of Arcot. Siege of Arcot, 1751. Siege of Arcot, 1751. So now listen. What were the details of this Siege of Arcot? Just give me a little bit of time so that I can explain you. Done. So I have created so many circles. Let me write. This is Arcot. Then this yellow zone I would count as British. This pink zone I am counting it as a French. Plus Chanda Sahib, CS I have written. And then this last outside circle is the British. It is an interesting battle which happened at this point of time. Caesar Arcot. Done. So now, very less number of the people. In fact, that near about 15, I think that 1500 to 2000 soldiers were there in the Arcot. ध्यान से सुनना, लिखना नहीं अभी. So near about 15,000 to 2,000 soldiers were there in the Arcot, and then it was under the charge of the son of the Chanda Sahib, Raju Sahib. Then, so ये लोग यहाँ पे हैं, and they were not at all expecting that anybody will come over here. So when the Robert Clive said that we need to create a diversion, and that's how we can get a chance to win back our territories, then and to win back against the French. So Saunders said, Saunders was also very clever. ठीक है? He said to the Robert Clive, ठीक है, this is all okay, that I will give you this opportunity to fight for this, but listen, that we have already the dearth of the equipment, so you would not be given so many that automatic guns and these all kind of things. Then, so you know that how many people went with the Robert Clive? 200 Britishers. Listen this story very carefully. So 200 Britishers and then 300 Indian soldiers. So 200 Britishers and 300 Indian soldiers, they accompanied the Robert Clive, and they were going to seize Arcot. Then, and how many guns were given to them? Very surprising. Only 3 guns were given to them. 500 people and only 3 guns, and that too captured this area of the Arcot. Then, so they entered into the Paliyar River. They crossed the Paliyar River, and after the Paliyar River, they came closer to the Arcot. Even they were quite fearful. Robert Clive was like that कि मरेंगे तो मरेंगे but जिएंगे तो बहुत अच्छे से जिएंगे. So that kind of philosophy was his, that if fate has, if in my fate it is written that I will die, so it's okay. But if at all I would be successful, so I can create, I can be living a life beyond imagination. So he had this kind of you can say that vision with him. So he all the time he inspired his soldiers, and they crossed the Paliyar River, and then they entered. It was said that there was one section of the Arcot fort was quite dilapidated, and it was not quite dilapidated, and it was not safeguarded also. So what they did, that they entered into the dilapidated part of the Arcot fort. And there what they did, with those 3 guns only, when you have little bit, you use maximum, that you make maximum use of the same. So they very carefully used those 3 guns to kill some of the men and Frenchmen, and then also some of the men of the Chanda Sahib in that dilapidated fort area, and they got 10-15 guns extra. Then so they came with the 3 guns, now they have 15-16 guns. Then now, when they had 15-16 guns, so it was kind of a success. Then, though it was not a grand success, but you know, it's the small successes which counts, and which gives you the confidence, which launches you, which gives you a threshold to further take off. Then, so what they did, that they were quite inspired by this, and Robert Clive was inspiring them. Now, they had a real fight with the son of the Chanda Sahib, Raju Sahib. So they fought with them, and one by one, very strategically, they were entering from one area to another area. They captured the Arcot. Then, so they captured the Arcot. Then, so once they have captured the Arcot, they have led a siege to the Arcot. Now this news reached to the Trikonapalli, where Chanda Sahib and French people, they are fighting with the Muhammad Ali. So now Chanda Sahib was forced to return back to this particular, to safeguard his capital. This news reached, and this entire story, let me tell you, entire story is from I think 53 days were there, which started in August and continued till I think 15th of November. So August to November. So August to November 1751. So Chanda Sahib and French are returning back to take back Arcot from the Robert Clive. Then, so take back Arcot. So they returned. Now Arcot inside this Arcot area. So now Robert Clive has more number of the weapons, and then his 200 British and 300 Indians. The only issue with them was still ration was not available to them. Whatever ration that they have carried with them, that was not very sufficient enough. Then, so not very sufficient enough, and they were holding the fort. It does not mean that people are not inside the fort. In fact, even at this point of time, people are inside the fort. Then, but they have made a circle around the fort so that nobody can move out of the fort. So now, one problem for them was the ration, what they will eat. So at this point of time, since Robert Clive was inspiring his men, so his men in return, they were inspiring the Robert Clive. So what happened, that the Indian soldiers who were great in number, 300, and British soldiers were 200. So at the name of ration, they only had rice. Then they only had rice. So these Indian soldiers looked at the rice. They suggested to Robert Clive, see, that we guys are accustomed to eating and drinking the water of the rice. If rice is boiled in a little bit more amount of water, so that water has that starchiness, then that water had that starch, and that's equally nutritious. Then, so they said that this boiled water of the rice, we Indians will have it, and since you Britishers are not accustomed to eating the boiled starchy water of the rice, so you guys can have the rice and we can have the starch water, and that would be enough for us to fight this battle. So this is what they did for near about, I think, that last 20 days that Indian soldiers were surviving on the, and I hope you know that in your own areas that what you call, मेरे इलाके में वो चावल का जो पानी होता है, that is called as the maad. Then, so in different areas, I think that in South India also people do like this thing, that चावल का पानी. It's not that when you're cooking in a pressure cooker, so then you don't have that water. But when you're cooking the rice in open, so then you have that starch water. So that's how they survived. Now, so listen. So French and Chanda Sahib returning back. Then here inside British is there. Now somehow message reached to the British who are stationed at the Madras. So it reached to the British that they need to come to support the Robert Clive. Now the situation is ripe to win back the Arcot. So this time finally the British support came, and that first Robert Clive laid a siege to the Arcot. He was besieged by French and Chanda Sahib, and finally British came. The war happened, and then here Clive was victorious. So this was the first victory of the British in India. First victory of British in India against the French. And rest is the story, that after this first win, they build on something which was unimaginable. This is interesting. So please write. We are not going to write the entire story. So please write. Ganji in South India. Maad Bhat. Ravi Ranjan. So Ravi, I think that Maad Bhat matlab Bihar ho gaya. So I hope that you are from the Bihar region. Now listen, please write few words about this. Siege of Arcot is the heading. I hope you guys have understood this entire story. I have mentioned in a very simple manner. So समझ गए होगे? Please लिखो. Robert Clive was a young British captain. Robert Clive was a young British captain who attempted to seize Arcot. Ganji and Kanji. Oh, thank you. I got new words also. Who attempted to seize Arcot with near about 200 European, 200 and 300 Indian soldiers. 200 European and 300 Indian soldiers. Then they held the Arcot fort till 53rd day. Till 53rd day, when the British support came, and finally they were victorious. Then so now listen that what happened after this one. So since that after this war, listen this, that after this particular siege of Arcot, Britishers fought one more battle with the French. Then, and this is known as the Battle of Arni. Then, so they completely defeated the French in the Battle of Arni, and then happened the Treaty of Pondicherry, 1754. So you write that after this victory, after full stop, after this victory, Britishers completely defeated French in Battle of Arni. Completely defeated French in Battle of Arni. Then further you mention the war ended with the Treaty of Pondicherry. War ended with the Treaty of Pondicherry, 1754. Treaty of Pondicherry, 1754. So now, at this point of time, the terms and conditions of the war would be decided by the British. Then, so here, what the British did, that they said, they knew it very well, that by the time, see that we have tasted the success at this point of time, but they knew the capacity and the capability of the French governor Dupleix. So they knew that once he has been defeated, that Dupleix has been defeated, so he will not sit back. And he is also a man of strategy, so he will try to get back those French areas and again defeat the Britishers, devise new strategies. So they knew it very well that until and unless you don't remove the Dupleix from India, there cannot be complete success. So they kind of said to in this treaty that they dictated, you can say that they dictated that Dupleix must be recalled from India. He must go back to his own places, that in France. And then they said that we will restore the privileges of the French. Then, ki jo bhi hai, jaise for example, that French were having more influence over there in the Hyderabad. So they said that French can retain their influence in Hyderabad, but Dupleix would have to be recalled. And that's what happened. So Dupleix was recalled to the France, and then after that, it was easy for the Britishers to completely defeat the French. So please write that as per the terms of treaty, French were forced to recall Dupleix from India. French were forced to recall Dupleix from India. And they were allowed to exercise their influence. They were allowed to retain their or exercise their influence on Hyderabad. Okay? So this is what happened in the treaty of that in this particular Second Carnatic War, and then Treaty of Pondicherry. So I'll give you just 5-minute break, not more than that. We started late, so 5-minute break, and immediately I'll start. 10. So 6:50, 5 मिनट के बाद start करते हैं. So let's look at the last Carnatic War. The third one, third Carnatic War. So, okay, there is a question and there is an answer also. So I don't need to, in the same year itself, that just after the siege of Arcot, they went for this Battle of Ardni. 1751 only. So now, let's look at the third Carnatic War. Then, so third Carnatic War, you can mention it as a heading, and this is the last Carnatic War. So third Carnatic War, and this is going to happen, start in the 1758. Then, though the case was over in India in 1763, but the treaty happened in 65. So, listen. 63 is basically the year in which the Battle of Vandivos was fought. So listen, that here, the reason of the first Carnatic War based in Europe, second Carnatic War based in India, and third Carnatic War, again reason is based in Europe. So, do ka reason, first and last reasons are based in Europe, and then second one only where the reasons were the precipitating factors were present at the Indian ground only. So what is the reason of this one? The outbreak of the 7-year war. Then, so the outbreak of 7-year war, and 1758 and 63, this is the time when these two are the big imperial powers of the world. In fact, that nobody was superior than the British and then French at this point of time. You can say that they were number one, number two imperialist power in the world. So whichever part of the world they were present, if they are present in the America, they are fighting in America. If they are present in the Africa, they are fighting in Africa. If they are present in the India, they are fighting in India. So whichever part of the world they were there, all the places they started to fight with each other. So from Europe to Asia to America, every place they started to fight with each other. And obviously in India. Then, so please mention few words about it, and then I'll tell you about that, the very important Battle of Vandivos. So you're right that the context of this war, was outbreak of 7-year war. Was outbreak of 7-year war between British and French in all the continents. In all the continents, to establish their imperialist hegemony, to establish their imperialist hegemony. To establish their imperialist hegemony. Then as such, the war was very well reflected in India. As such, the war was very well reflected in India, and in this war, French were defeated, thoroughly defeated at all the places, at all the fronts. French were defeated at all the fronts. So listen. So French were defeated at all the fronts. So here, that very important battle was fought, and that was the Battle of Vandivos, which was fought in 1760. So 1760 the battle was fought, and I said wrongly in the beginning. Yes, 1760 the battle was fought, and 63 was the year when the treaty happened. Then, so a Battle of Vandivos, the important officer from both the sides. So from the French side, the officer was Count de Lally. Then, and from the English side, the officer was the Sir Eyre Coote. So this battle happened between these two officers, and in this battle French were thoroughly defeated. Then, so in India, the process was over by 1760 only, but since the 7-year war continued till 1763, so that's how the particularly the treaty would be there in the 1763, and that was the Treaty of Paris. So please mention that in this context, the very important Battle of Vendée was 1760 was fought. Battle of Vendée was 1760 was fought between Sir Count de Lally. You can write the name, you can look at the board. Spelling: Count de Lally of France and Sir Eyre Coote of Britain. So Battle of Vendée was fought between Count de Lally of France and then Sir Eyre Coote of Britain. Then you write, French were thoroughly defeated and British captured. French were thoroughly defeated and British captured Pondicherry and Mahé. Pondicherry you can write, Mahé also I hope you know. So Pondicherry and Mahé. Full stop. This war put an end to the French ambition. This war put an end to the French ambition of creating. This war put an end to the French ambition of creating a colonial empire in India. Colonial empire in India. So now we need to see that the treaty which happened after this one. Then, so there were many such territories. We have written this much only, that Pondicherry, Mahé, Chandranagar was also. You can add that British captured this Pondicherry, Mahé, Chandranagar. So these all areas. Now listen. So Treaty of Paris happened in the 1763, and as per the treaty, Chandranagar and Pondicherry was restored to the French, and also all the territories which they were holding, which was theirs prior to 1749. Then, so before 1749, which all areas which was under the control of the French, they all were restored. So Mahé, Karaikal, Yanam, Pondicherry, Chandranagar. So these all areas, they were before the 1749, and then they all were restored to them. But it was said to the French that they are going to accept the British protectorate in India, meaning that they are no more operating under the French protectorate or the French imperialism, but in fact that if they are operating in India, so they will have to operate under the British protectorate, meaning that for all the operations, anything they want to do, they will have to seek the permission of the British in India. Then not all other places, but in India, that they will have to accept the British protectorate in India. Then, and they were allowed to continue their trade, they were allowed to continue their trading centers. Then, but one more thing was said, that since they are operating under the British protectorate, they would not interfere in the political affairs of India. So they would not interfere in any of the states, in any of the political affair of India. It's only British who can do that. So this is a treaty which had wide repercussions on Indian public also, and then also at the same point of time, the French aspirations were winded up from this point of time. So please mention Treaty of Paris. Please mention Treaty of Paris. (1763). Please mention. As per the treaty, Chandranagar, Pondicherry, as per the treaty, Chandranagar, Pondicherry, and also all the territories prior to, 1749, Chandranagar, Pondicherry, and all the territories prior to 1749 were restored to the British. Restored to the French. Were restored to the French. Full stop. But French had to accept. French had to accept British protectorate. French had to accept British protectorate in India. Had to accept British protectorate in India. Then after full stop, please mention. They were allowed to continue trade. And retain their trading centers. They were allowed to continue trade and retain their trading centers. Full stop. French also agreed not to interfere. French also agreed not to interfere in the political affairs of India. French also agreed not to interfere in the political affairs of India. So this is what was the Treaty of Paris. One last thing that we are going to discuss in the today's class, and then I'll not go beyond that. So the last thing is that the factors which were responsible for the French defeat. So let's list out those all factors which were reasons of the French defeat in the India. So please mention. Factors responsible for French defeat in India. So please write this, that factors responsible for French defeat in India. Done? So now listen, that what were the reasons that why that, or you can say that causes of the French failure in India. Okay? So first of all, that when it comes to the, and particularly that when we are writing French failure, so we are writing from the perspective of the Third War. So Third War, when everything was done, and dusted. So at this point of time, English were quite superior. By this time, Third War, they were quite superior in terms of energy, in terms of resources, and in terms of enthusiasm also. So in terms of energy, resources, and then enthusiasm. So what is that? See, that enthusiasm comes from the leadership, that if they are able to inspire their men, so obviously enthusiasm will be there. Resources, so resources depends upon that from where the flow is coming. Resources, mainly money, then, and then also mainly that how the funding is happening, then if there are any impediments to that funding. So their resources were quite available to them. And then since they have tasted success in the previous battle, and against all the odds they were victorious, so that is further providing them energy, and they are seeing on the horizon that there is further beautiful period, and there is a period where they can live with the glory. So that was also one source of energy. So very first is that they were far superior than the French in the energy source and the resources and enthusiasm. Now, what was the problem with the French company? French company had an organizational problem, organizational weakness. What is this organizational weakness? You have seen, while writing about the advent of Europeans, on one hand, the Britishers. So Britishers, they were a private company, and French was the government company. So French was a government company, and then Britishers were a private company. So when you are in a private company, the decision making is a little bit fast then, but in a government company or in a government enterprise, the decision making is a casualty. Then, so decision making, it's a little bit kind of, it lags behind. Then, so there is a process or there is a lag in the process. Then, moreover, for all the matters, when you are a government company, so for all the matters, you are dependent on your government. You are fighting in India, you are taking decision from France. Then, कि सरकार ये कहेगी तो हम ये करेंगे, सरकार वो कहेगी तो हम वो करेंगे. So this is what was the problem with the French company, that they were totally dependent on their, for all the matters of decision, they were totally dependent on their government. Then when you are a government company, so obviously there would be a very little discretion with you. Discretionary power is very little with you. On the other hand, since the British were private company, there was no such issue of the decision making. There was no such issue of the discretionary power. Okay? Then, one more factor which was also very important, that after the demise, not demise, I'll say that, demise would be that going from the world itself. After the recall of the duplex, there was no French official who can inspire their men, who can keep them together, who can inspire them, who can make the French as a cohesive unit. So after the recall of the duplex, the new officer who was there, Count de Lally, he was quite rash. Then he was very arrogant and he was quite rash. And then moreover, he was not at good behavior with his own men. So he was not at good behavior with his own men, and he did not inspire his men. So obviously they are a kind of a scattered unit. Then they are not cohesive, but they are a scattered unit. And moreover, one last thing which you haven't read, which you will be starting from the next class. So when you are reading the Bengal, the very important battle happened in the Bengal in 1757, Battle of Plassey. And in Battle of Plassey, British were victorious. They got huge amount of wealth after the victory in the Battle of Plassey. So after the Battle of Plassey, there was a smart flow of money, a smart flow of wealth to the British. On the other hand, it was not the case with the French. I hope you have understood. Please write. So English were far superior. English were far superior in energy, resources and enthusiasm. English were far superior in energy, resources and enthusiasm. Second, you write. You can write with the numbers. So first one you have written, second one you write. Organizational weakness of the French company. Organizational weakness of the French company. Then third you write. French company French company was totally dependent on the French government. French company was totally dependent on the French government in the financial matters. French government in the financial matters. Completely dependent on the French government in the financial matters. Then next you write, French company enjoyed very little discretionary power. French company enjoyed very little discretionary power. Then you write, unlike the British, there was little solidarity among the French officials and commanders. French officials and commanders. Then the last one you can mention, और इसी में लिख लो that after the call of Dupleix, the new French governor, Count de Lally, was very rash and arrogant. The new French governor, Count de Lally, was very rash and arrogant. Which alienated many of the French officials. Then the last one you write, English had ready supply of finances. At their disposal due to Plassey plunder. And we will see this Plassey plunder in Bengal. Yes, Subham, Robert Clive is not finished. अभी पिक्चर बाकी है मेरे दोस्त. रॉबर्ट क्लाइव की कहानी अभी बाकी है. Then, in fact, if you see that today's newspaper, I think in today's or tomorrow's newspaper, so in The Guardian, that there were many British parliamentarians who objected the statue of the Robert Clive being there in the Whitehall. So they said that he was a monster. Then he was a monster, and then he was a person who was all after the money. He was corrupt, his character was corrupt, and his soul was corrupt. There is no place of the statue of the Robert Clive in the Whitehall. This was the news, I think, that 2 days back in The Guardian. So I will tell you a few more things about the Robert Clive, and without Bengal episode, how come Robert Clive is complete? So we'll be seeing about him. We'll be again checking on him in the Bengal. Now, one last topic of this Carnatic, consequences of the Anglo-French Wars. Then, so consequences of this Carnatic Wars or Anglo-French Wars, 2-4 lines are there. So let's look at that, and then Next class will be starting with the Bengal. So please mention consequences of Anglo-French War. So now listen. So listen, that the very first consequence, the French design of setting up an colonial empire in India collapsed. This is very impervious that it will collapse. Then so it is very kind of that directly visible to anybody and directly known to all of you that their design collapsed. But when their design collapsing, so it means that there is no foreign power to contest with the British. Then so there is nobody from outside India of the same caliber who can check the British progress in India. Then so nobody to check British progress. Then Hyderabad after this, after the second battle, second Carnatic War, the French were allowed to retain their influence on the Hyderabad, but from here onwards, Hyderabad became completely dependent on the British. So Nizam of Hyderabad, he became dependent on the British. In fact, later on, you will see that Hyderabad is taking all the decision in the connivance with the British. Then it's a kind of that subsidiary partner. Then the third consequence, in this battle that between the French and English, large number of the crown troops, significant number of the crown troops came to India. What is this crown troop? You are listening for the first time. So since British is a private company, no issue then, but they are from the Britain. All the benefit that they are accruing, that is going to the Britain, to their families, to their friends, to their country. Then, so when they were in the need, they asked to their government कि अरे कुछ तो भेज दो, उनकी तो government वाली है, हमारी तो private है, तो हम क्या ऐसे ही मरेंगे? So they must have requested to their own government, and crown troops, meaning that the troops of the British monarch, they came in significant number in India, and they are going to, once they have come to India, so they are going to be stationed over here. Then, so they are going to be stationed over here. So arrival of the crown troops in significant numbers. क्या हुआ? कुछ बाहर क्रिकेट खेलने वाले हैं. Okay. And then another thing, that in this Anglo-French rivalry, there was a valuable lesson for the English. And what was this? Take the advantage of the mutual conflict of the Indian rulers. If there are two Indian rulers who are at the mutual conflict, you must take the advantage. And that's what they did. So please write one by one. So the very first one, you write, French design French design of setting up an empire in India. French design of setting up an empire in India collapsed. An empire in India collapsed. Collapsed. Then further you write, Hyderabad became completely dependent on British. Hyderabad became completely dependent on British. Became completely dependent on British. Third, arrival of crown troops in significant numbers. Arrival of crown troops in significant numbers. In significant numbers. Which later tilted the balance in the favor of the British. Which later tilted the balance in the favor of the British vis-a-vis Indian princess. Vis-a-vis Indian princess. vis-a-vis Indian princess. Then, and the last one you write. There was a valuable lesson for English. There was a valuable lesson for English, that is take advantage of mutual conflict of Indian rulers. Take advantage of mutual conflict of Indian rulers. Then, so take advantage of mutual conflict of Indian rulers. Similarly, India and Pakistan, then two neighbors, mutual conflict, and then who is taking the advantage? China. So history has many things in the similarity. What was there in the past, that is there in the present. So it is up to the governments of the two countries to resolve their mutual conflicts, and none of them is ready. So let's end the today's class here. So I'm stopping the today's class here, and I think that this is the last class of this week. So Monday or Tuesday, I don't know, whenever. Let me see that I have the schedule. I'll tell you that when do we have class and how many classes we have in the next week. So just 1 minute. I'll tell you. If we do have the, okay, we have the class on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So we have class on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at the same time. Okay? So Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at the same time. So Wednesday we will be starting with the Bengal episode. Very interesting one, and there are so many things to share with you in that class. So today was the 5th class, 6th, 7th, 8th. Yes, we are going fine. I think that somebody asked yesterday that sahi se chal raha hai pace ya nahi. It's very fine. That pace is going fine. So what some people have asked, see that many people do ask that ये class notes enough होगा कि नहीं होगा. मेरे पास उसका कोई जवाब नहीं होता है. See that in UPSC I don't feel like that the word which is enough. Then, but I can tell you one thing, that I'm trying to incorporate what all things which are important from the perspective of the exam, which I can expect that it can be coming in the exam. So from that perspective, class notes are the most important. The class notes are the most important. It's not because that कि मैंने तुमको कुछ बहुत बड़ा ज्ञान दे दिया. It's not like that. Then, and I have told you something different which is there in the books. But why it is important? Because you are listening to the classes. You are seeing the classes. Then you are writing in the classes, and then you yourself is reading. So the four-way emphasization is there. And what you write in your own handwriting, that goes very well into your mind as compared to any book. So if a book you are reading, that book will go into your mind after 5th or 6th reading, but your own handwritten notes, in the very first revision, you will be able to retain more than 80%. Then, so, and moreover, it is a curated one. Curated one कि फालतू का कोई चीज नहीं होता है. जैसे, for example, that one sentence, that one such information which can be completed in one sentence, if you are reading that one sentence in the book, so to convey that one information, they would be writing 35 words, 4 or 5 sentences. Here it can be conveyed in one sentence only. So there is a very much usage of the class notes, that it is a curated one. Moreover, it's according to the trend. Then, so it's according to the trend that what has happened in the last 10, 15 years. Then, so you have a bit insight. Then, so class notes are the most important. And then after, you can do the value addition in this class notes from the books that you are referring to. Okay? Chalo, so I'm just stopping the today's class here, and we'll meet next week. Thank you. Good night to all of you.